Hey everybody, it's Lisa Young Sutton and her talking hands with another video for you. Okay, so before we get started, if you find anything in this video helpful, please give it a little old like and hit the subscribe button. It's a little thank you to me for making these videos. Now, after I made the All About Houses video, which I'll link in the description box below, I received a few questions asking about using houses in small spreads, and I can't believe I didn't already include that in a video. It might be in one of them somewhere, but anyway, it's one of my go-to methods. So I thought I better make a video on it because it's important. I'll give you my whole repertoire. I use a 3-card with houses, 9-card box, the 25-card petite tableau, or a grand tableau. These days, that's my entire repertoire right there. Okay. All right. Now, so this video is about 3-card readings using houses. It's also a further discussion on the difference between the standard interpretation method and the question house method. Okay, standard interpretation of houses and my question method. All right, and where's my book? I have both of them explained in my book. Here it is. Oh, here's my book, The Petite Lenormand Oracle by Lisa Young Sutton. And on 369, where I have my house meanings, I have like the standard house meaning as well as the questions I ask when I use my question method. Like here, for the clouds, it's the house of troubles, right? But then here are some questions that I use when I use my question method. What aren't you seeing clearly? Where are your fears and insecurities? What is creating confusion or uncertainty? Okay, so they're both in here. All right, back to it. Now, I'd like to recap the difference between the two methods. So here, I made this little, wrote up this little spiel here, hoping it would help. Okay. All right, so the standard house interpretation method can be described as this. A house is a scene in a novel. You may prefer to see it as a scene in a movie. What is the definition of a scene? Well, according to the Oxford Dictionary, a scene is a place or setting regarded as having a particular character or making a particular impression. That word jumped out at me because that's just how I see the houses. They make an impression upon the visiting cards. All right? So the visiting cards then provide details and information regarding how they will react to the impression the house is making on them. Therefore, I get tangible details from the visiting cards as well as results or effects. Now, keep in mind that I am well aware of the fact that some people read it the other way. Some people view houses and the visiting cards in the opposite way that I do. It does not matter which way you do. I've even seen it explained in books in one way or the other. You know what I mean? Like which has the impact and which is the affect and which is the effect, you know, put it that way. You can see it one way or the other, and it depends on how your brain works, okay? Whichever way makes sense to you, whichever way your brain interprets that is the way the cards will speak to you, and that is the way you have to naturally go with the interpretation, because you can't just, try to force your brain to see things a different way because your friend is doing it that way. You have to go with whatever way makes sense to you. Okay, so now my question method can be summed up as this. Each house asks a question. What about this? What do I need to know about this? What of this? Okay? So that's my question method. And that method I came up with, it just naturally came to be basically because of the types of readings I predominantly do, which are animal readings and advice readings, readings to get in touch with your higher self or your intuition, all right? And using the houses to ask questions just naturally came about. Okay, so I'm going to throw another little tip at you, and this is the way I always do this. When I lay a 3-card with houses, at the end of the interpretation, I look at my first house and my final visitor, and I want to see how the story flowed, how the energy flowed. It's the same way I read a box, okay? Am I moving from problems to solutions or vice versa? Am I moving from tension to ease or ease to tension, okay? Now, I want to point out that when you see that things are going from good to bad in a reading, don't try to flower up the reading. Don't try to change the, look for positive meanings for your negative cards, that kind of thing, because you're missing the point. I mean, what is the point of using the cards? Isn't it to get a heads up? Isn't it to get, advance notification of something? It's kind of like you're driving down the road and you see a sign that says bridge out ahead. Turn here. And there's a detour sign, right? Are you going to sit there and be pissed off that the bridge is out and that, you're going to be in the car longer now? Or are you going to be thankful that you saw the sign in plenty of time to take the detour, to make that turn, right? It's valuable information. It's a heads up, all right? So don't fret. Don't fear your warnings, okay? All right. All right, so let's begin with the standard method. Now notice the way I lay the cards. I overlap my visitor on the house, because if you were using a house mat, the card would land in the house, right? It would be covering the house. Because the way my brain operates, this I will read differently. If this were just 6 cards, my brain will interpret this differently than this, all right? So there's a reason why I lay things the way I lay them, because I want to always stay in my flow when I'm reading. I want to stay in alpha. I want to keep my mojo going, and I don't want to exit my flow, okay? So I lay things so that my brain knows what's going on. Okay, so we're going to start with the standard method, which is also my standard method, right? The standard interpretation method of houses. All right, so that's this one over here. Notice we got 2 crappy houses right off the bat, okay? But this is another point I want to make right away, that I would rather see good cards landing in bad houses than vice versa, because this tells me how I'm going to tackle this. This is already here. This is the house, right? Like you didn't have an option. You had to go to your grandparents' house on Sunday for dinner, right? You didn't have an option. But this tells you how you're going to, what you're bringing to the house, how you're going to handle it, right? That's the way I see it. Some people see it the other way. They really do. They would see it as... and I can't even go into that because I don't know how other people's brains work. Like, I can't see it that way. But some people actually see that the ship landing in mountain, right? I would have to put the cards this way to get the same interpretation that they would get with this, okay? What I'm saying is your brain is going to see it one way or the other. And you have to just naturally go with whatever way makes sense to your brain, okay? Because the cards are here to communicate with you, and if they're not getting through to you, then there's no communication, is there? All right, so here we go. We start off with the house of challenges and obstacles and delays. All right, and here's the ship landing there. Now remember, I read Lenormand cards in layers, so the first layer is always my primary vibes, my core natures of the cards, right? This is the enemy card, this is the card of the journey, moving forward, okay? So that's my first layer of the reading, that we are moving forward, even though we're going to be hitting, let's call this challenges, we're going to move forward, okay? So that's the first layer of my reading. Now, my second layer is to go out to some broader meanings, and this is the card that represents the motorhome. This is the ship card. It represents the motorhome itself, okay? Now, if this were laying here, this would tell me that there are going to be problems with the motorhome. That's what this would tell me, okay? challenges and obstacles regarding this motorhome. That's not what this is telling me, okay? This is telling me that we're going to be faced with challenges and obstacles and delays, right? Maybe traffic right off the bat or whatever it is, some kind of challenge or delay or obstacle, but we're going to get in the motorhome anyway and we're going to roll over the mountain, okay? Okay, we're on the journey. We're taking the trip, okay? That's my first message right there. Okay, so the next house, we have the house of difficulties and detours. Now this is a road trip, so right away I'm thinking detour, okay? But the stars landing there is good news, okay? This tells me that we're going to find a successful new path, okay? We are going to receive guidance, and we're going to find a successful new path around the detours, okay? Now this would be the opposite for me. And look, the snake is even facing it. This here, okay, because this is the second layer of my reading that I was about to get to, is this is my GPS card too. The motorhome has a GPS. What would this be telling me? Your GPS isn't going to work, and you're going to be entangled. You're going to be stuck. You're going to be going the wrong way, right? That's what that would tell me. But no, it didn't land that way. It landed this way. Okay, so this is telling me that we will use our GPS to get around these difficulties, to get around these detours. This is also my second layer of the reading then, is this is also the card of the internet, and it's electricity and like TV access, that kind of thing. It's also nighttime. So this being the house of difficulties, right, this is telling me that we're going to have to find the right place to park at night where we will have internet and TV access, because different places where you park, you don't always have that, okay? And that's important to us because that's the way we roll. You know, when we go camping, we want a big, comfy, king-size bed and a shower and a full kitchen and internet and TV. You know, we're not pitching a tent in the woods. Okay, so anyway, that's what this is telling me. Now the motorhome has a generator, right? So we don't have to worry about electricity, even though this is the electricity card, because that's not what this is telling me. That would be the sun card for me, like the generator. All right, so anyway. Okay, so that's the message I got from that, is that we will encounter detours, but we'll be able to use our GPS to find a successful path around them, but we still, because we will, these cards showed up for a reason, right? So we will encounter difficulties, right? So we are going to have to be careful where we park at night so that we have our internet and TV. Okay. Now, my husband landed as a house, and that makes perfect sense because he is the driver, he's the mechanic, he's the muscle, right? He does the heavy lifting. I mean, look at the card, too. He's got the backpack on. He's like, oh, he's in the snow. He's like, oh, man. You know, he's used to, I grew up in a motorhome family. He, on the other hand, is used to getting into a plane and then checking into a hotel and being waited on. So this is a new way of traveling for him still. But we have the lily landing here. What's the lily? The card of peace and satisfaction and harmony and bliss and all that fun stuff. But it's also the card of maturity and wisdom. Excuse me. And this landing in his house tells me that he's going to be quite pleased with what he accomplishes on this trip and all that he learns. He's going to be older and wiser after this trip, and probably geared up and ready for the next one, knowing that he knows more now. He is wiser now. But he is going to find, harmony and satisfaction in this trip. Okay. Whew. All right, so let's go to the question method, okay? And let's see what additional information we get. Now, same topic, right? The motorhome trip and how it will go. And the difference is that each of these cards are showing up to ask a question, like, what about this? What about this? What about this? And this is answering how we're going to deal with that, okay? It's just slightly different. All right, so the first question here is of rules, regulations, and restrictions. What do we need to know about those? Well, obviously it's shown up to say that there will be some that we have to deal with, but the ways is telling us that we will have options and we will take, or find a way around these. Okay, so we're going to have to find a way to deal with restrictions and and regulations and stuff, and that right away is making me think of parking. Okay, and that correlates with the stars and the snake too, right? Yeah. And even the ship and the mountain. Okay, so I'm thinking there's going to be some issues with parking, but we're going to have to make a decision, go an alternate route, you know, or go an alternate way. And I'll explain that in a second because I know just what that means. Okay. Here we have the house of the bouquet. Now, what is the bouquet asking? What about the pleasant surprises that will be offered on this trip? What about the beauty and happiness and pleasantries? Okay, and the clouds here is very telling for me because it tells me that we won't see the pleasantries clearly if we allow ourselves to focus on what's going wrong, because we already know we're going to have a few things going wrong. I mean, look, we got the house of the fox here, we got the snake, and we got the mountain. So this is a very mental, cerebral card for me. And, you know, think of it this way. The clouds is the card of passing troubles, not permanent ones, okay? The beautiful fragrance of these flowers will be obscured. That's one of the meanings of the clouds, obscurity, right? So they'll be obscured if we allow ourselves to wallow like in an unfocused, doubtful, or unsteady state of mind. All three of those words are key words for this card, okay? All right, so don't be focusing on this and this and this, because if you do, you're going to miss this. That's what that is telling me, and isn't that the way we humans do things? We could have 50 things going right in our life and one thing going wrong, and what's the thing that we dwell on, the thing that's going wrong? What the hell's wrong with us? Oh my gosh. Okay, so that's what that's telling me. This is also the card of bad weather, right? So this is telling me, because this is landing in this beautiful house, this is covering it, right? So this is telling me we're not going to see all of the beauty on this trip because we're going to have some bad weather, all right? But this is also great information for me because it's reminding me to pack our foul weather gear, because I'll tell you what, knocked my tripod there. I love walking on the beach in the rain. I love it. It's like surreal for me. I adore it. And you have practically the whole beach to yourself because nobody else is out there. So yeah, that'll be seen now right away. I'm focusing on this. All right. So remember, you know, even though this is the card of bad weather, we can't control the weather. But we have absolute control over the way we react to it or feel about it. Okay? All right, now, let's go to the fox. So the fox is showing up to say that something will go wrong, right? That there will be some issues. But what is he asking here? He's asking, what about the things that will go wrong? What do we need to be cautious about? And what is this the card of? It's the card of parking. We're talking about a road trip here. Right? What does the anchor do? When does a ship drop its anchor? Not when it's full steam ahead. No, it drops its anchor when it's parking. Okay, so this is the parking card. It's about safety and security. Okay, so this is asking, what about the things we need to be cautious about? Finding a safe place to drop our anchor at night. And as soon as I saw this made perfect sense to me, because this is just a weekend trip, right? And it's only 2 nights. So we were planning to not pay the money for a campsite and just stay. You can park in a lot of like mall parking lots or Walmarts, or, you know, along a road somewhere. There are a lot of places where you can park for free if it's just 1 or 2 nights. But this is telling me not to do that. All of these cards are telling me not to do that. So after reading this, we are going to book into a nice campsite and not take the chance. Okay, so that is it. Short and sweet. I don't know how short it was, but hopefully it was sweet. Okay, so again, if you likey this, hit the like button and subscribe so that you'll be notified every time I make a video. Thanks for watching as always, and have a mystical and magical day. Believing is the first step, my friends. Bye now.